Hey, what's up everyone? Today we are going to be talking about my favorite thing ever, and that is of course Bakugan. Now, starting in 2008, Bakugan were these marbles that opened by using magnets. Now, way back in the day, Bakugan was a very simple game by using 3 gate cards and 3 ability cards. The gate cards being stiff, being, made with metal, and the ability cards were more limber because they were just regular cards, and some ability cards, very few, would have this texture to them that made them all shiny and glittery like, while other ability cards had a more special purpose to them, being Bakugan and other special Bakugan. So these ability cards would appear to be blue and purple instead of an orange. Now, in short, in order to win a Bakugan brawl, each player must collect the 3 gate cards. 2 Bakugan standing on 1 gate card, which means a battle would be about to commence, and the strongest Bakugan would take home that gate card. Ensure you win, you would be using ability cards. But in 2018, a reboot of Bakugan was made, so instead of the ability cards with magnets, they were surely replaced with Bakukors that also had magnets. Now, what I don't like about this, the Bakukors do not have a creative touch to them, because unlike Bakukors, the gate cards that would be used to open Bakugan with magnets had different designs to them and different images. But with Bakukors, it's not really that creative, and the Bakukors, they vary because there's different actions on the Bakukors that can give your Bakugan different kinds of strengths. Now, instead of using 3 ability cards, you'll be using a deck of 40, with, of course, 3 character cards featuring the Bakugan you are using in battle. You'll be using the Bakugan figures to match the character card. Now, you see, the problem with this is that the game is overly complicated, that they could not mention any of this in the Bakugan manual. Instead, they have a basic version that is included in this manual. The advanced version has a lot more strategy to it, but albeit way more complicated. So if you want to know how to play the advanced version, you would probably have to look the rules up online. So that's probably unfortunate for people without internet access. Now, there is another complicated version of the game, but without using Bakugan figures, you'll only be using the ability cards, a deck of ability cards, and 3 character cards. And again, you won't even need your Bakugan figures. You'll just be playing the TCG version of the game. And again, there's no instruction manual. You'll just have to look it up online. Now, in some form, they are bringing back the gate cards, because this is one of the new gate cards. Now, this is the older gate cards. Now, in the newer game, I can't imagine what the gate cards are for. Maybe they're trying to bring back the old rules of the game, but I highly doubt it. And the newer gate cards compared to the older ones are slightly smaller, I suppose, in size. But these gate cards are only meant for Fusion Bakugan, and if you don't know what Fusion Bakugan are, they're like this whole new thing. I guess it's a gimmick. Now, you can't bring up Bakugan without talking about the latest Bakugan video game. Now, I've covered this on my channel before. In the description below is a video where I covered, I try to cover Bakugan as a whole. I covered all the basics and just pretty much almost the history of Bakugan. Well, I covered what I can, but I mean, it's hard to cover everything that Bakugan did in all the gimmicks they came out with. I mean, this is a pretty bad, terrible game. I mean, there used to be a good amount of Bakugan games. Well, there weren't that many Bakugan games that came out, but I mean, there were some good ones. Others were kind of terrible. But this, it isn't the most awful Bakugan game I ever played, but I mean, it is pretty bad. I mean, I just don't like what Bakugan has become. They have an overly complicated card game and an overly complicated game in general, in real life. The figures, it's just, I mean, the figures, I like the designs. This is like my most favorite Bakugan design ever of a Bakugan figure, but the game itself, the TCG version and the version you play with the figures, it's overly complicated. It doesn't even come in a rule book. You have to look up the rules online because that's how complicated it is. They can't print everything about it on paper. They just had to create a basic version for little kids, basically. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, as a hardcore Bakugan fan, I did try to learn the advanced version, even though I really don't have anyone to play with in real life. But again, I did try to learn, and that's why I created my own deck, which was kind of hard because now with all these complicated rules, there's like evolution Bakugan, and you have to have cards based on the evolution and certain factions to fit with your Bakugan. Again, it's overly complicated and it's nothing like what Bakugan used to be. I mean, it used to be so simple and easy, anyone could pick it up in a rule book. And there's, well, back when Bakugan first came out, I suppose they came out with these types of cards, which I'm not really sure what they're for. They're not for the traditional game, I can tell you that much. So I don't know what these cards, what they're meant for, what purpose they held. These cards has nothing to do with the actual game. I don't know why they exist. But back to the gate cards aren't even relevant anymore, so I don't know how they can incorporate the new gate cards to the newer rules of the game, but I can clearly see that the new recent current gate cards are sort of building off the art style of the old gate cards. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. PJ, you're 24. Why are you still playing with Bakugan? I don't know. Why are you still watching this video? Anyway, here's some footage of playing a game that I hate. Bakugan Champions of Vestroia. Now this game may be terrible, but it does give me a lot to talk about and I can voice my opinions given how poorly designed it is. Now, as I previously stated in my past videos about this game, the online battling system, it makes no sense, and I just feel like it really doesn't have a purpose having an online feature anyway due to how boring the battling mechanics are. I mean, the ranking system makes no sense, and every time I join an online match, I am faced with an opponent that looks exactly like me. It can't register what my opponent is supposed to look like, so it makes an exact replica of my avatar. And also, unlike other online video games, it doesn't show my opponent's name. It just says opponent. It really doesn't give me their name like other online games have. It just says opponent. I mean, the online feature is poorly designed just like the rest of the game. And now, for the ability cards. Now, in previous Bakugan games, they they had they would design ability cards based on the ability cards in real life. As with this, they just have a cheap icon for ability cards and not much else. Now, I'm not sure with each title or, each name of these ability cards are accurate to ability cards in real life, or they just made up their own ability card name for the sake of this game, but they could have designed ability cards based on the ability cards in real life like they did in previous Bakugan games. And I don't really know what the purpose is to purchase Bakugan anyway, when you can just find Bakugan randomly on the street, even Bakugan you already have in the same color. The same kind of goes for ability cards, because as rewards for winning brawls, you get ability cards, and you get so many duplicates of ability cards, you can't even, there's no selling feature, so I don't see why you would buy more ability cards even though you already have them, and you have way too much anyway because of all the duplicates you can't even sell. In previous Bakugan games, they actually fully rendered a 3D model of the Bakugan figures, but not in this game. It just shows their counterparts here. I mean, as much as I like seeing the giant beasts that you have, I would still like to see the Bakugan in marble form. But again, it is pretty cool how they have them as they do right here. Though I do like the whole world you can explore and different locations you can travel to, but I don't really much like the graphics. It seems like everything is so sharp and pointy in this game. I mean, even the cars, the trucks, everything just seems so pointy. And I mean, I do like the way that the trees create shadows, and you can tell it's sunny out. That's pretty nice. And another thing I like about this game that the previous Bakugan games didn't have, they have the option to actually pick a female character, which the other games were lacking. And again, this game was poorly designed, so you can see me running right through this character, and it does not give me the option to communicate with him at all. And I'm just like pretty much running right through his whole body. It's kind of weird. I mean, I can tell they went the cheapest way possible when designing this game. They don't even have full 3D models of each character like they did in the other Bakugan games. They just have, they just pasted still images of the characters from the anime. I mean, I guess this game does has its charm. I mean, look how weird and at an angle this guy runs. Okay guys, that's it for this video, and I did a whole other video covering this topic before, everything that's wrong with Bakugan Champions of Destroya, and like I said, the description will be added below, so